And that's the other thing. I mean, sometimes I've had people, there was a young man that was a cashier or a deli, he worked behind the deli, and I get a little lackadaisical isn't the word, but when you do something on a regular basis and you're a real human being and there isn't anything religious about it, there have been days it's like, okay, look, I do this thing, okay, and today you're my person, and I just want you to know I'm going to be saying prayers for you before I fall asleep, and I'm just telling you, right? And so, yeah, it's not too religious. Nobody ever thinks that I'm trying to convert them in any way whatsoever, because I also never know what people believe, how they voted, what zip code they live in, what they drive, and I love that. I love that factor that all I do is say, tonight I'm going to be praying for you, and when I pray for them, I'm never praying that they move into my zip code, that they change the way they vote, that they go to a different church, or that they dye their hair any color, you know. It's just that it is honestly a human compassion factor, and truly in that moment wanting what's best in life, in that stranger's life, and wanting the people they love to be protected and healthy, and wanting peace in their life. So it's very hard to find somebody that turns that down, but the young man at the deli, he jumps back when I told him, he goes, me? I'm the stranger? Today, I'm the one. Me, I'm in, me, oh, you don't know how much I needed to hear that today. I can't believe it's me. And I thought, you would have thought I said, and now you've won the lottery. You're stepped right up. I've got a new car for you right outside. And I thought, yes, today it's you, and I've got to get my sandwiches and get on out of here. So, but, you know, and I can have a really touching moment in a grocery store with someone that's working there, and we have this meaningful moment, and then I go out in the parking lot and someone's loading their car, you know, their groceries, and they've thrown their car door into my Jeep, and I'm thinking, I know you did not just scratch the paint off my car, you know, after I just had a spiritual moment, you know. So there is absolutely nothing floaty about me. I haven't turned into a saint by any means by doing this. I have become much more human, and the compassion in my heart for other people and my awareness of them has grown immeasurably. And it didn't happen overnight, but with consistency, it certainly did. And it really has only been until I stepped out and started talking about the experience in the past year that I understood the depth of, you know, the change that's taken place inside of this introverted writer girl, because I really don't need to talk to people. I'm real happy sitting in the corner all by myself, and requested my mother put me in the corner when I was a child, and got into trouble, which was rare because I didn't move enough to get into trouble, and I didn't make any noise, but for some reason I got into trouble. I might have sassed or something. I was about 5 years old, and she said, when you come home, you are going in the corner. And I thought about it all day long like it was the most delicious treat in the world. I remember thinking of it and thinking, oh, when I go home, I'm going in that corner. And as soon as she opened the door and let me in, and I said, aren't you going to put me in the corner? And she goes, what? She didn't even remember whatever the occurrence was, so it wasn't horrible, you know. And I said, you said you were going to put me in the corner. And so she had to follow through with it. It was the first and last time I've ever been put in the corner of my life, because she knew I enjoyed it, because I felt like the world was in timeout, not me, and I was able just to be in the corner where my imagination would be absolutely undisturbed, and much like a cat sitting on the windowsill looking out at the world. So that really is my basic personality. My friend Sonia Caldwell's here, and she knows me well enough. We've known each other for, she says, over a decade. She knows me well enough to know that I am quite capable of being reticent and reserved, and I keep my life to myself, if that makes sense. You know, I'm not extroverted. I'm just not extroverted. But you wouldn't know that from the fact that I will step up to just about anyone and go, guess what? Today you're my stranger. And so isn't that bizarre? I'm still introverted. And even speaking with Sonia and saying, you know, I'll be in Greenville, I hope to see you, I hope you can come to this luncheon. And she said something about, you know, you can go to my yoga class. I'm like, no, I'm not going to anybody's anything. I'm going to my room alone. I'm staying alone. It'd be so good to see you at lunch, but I'm going to my room now. You know, I'm craving alone time. And that's the truth. So what am I doing writing this book and being out here telling you about my experience, talking to strangers and embracing them and remembering them? I mean, I will be sitting on my porch looking out into the woods, and I will remember a lady that I met in the parking lot of a post office and had a meaningful exchange with. I never seem to forget anyone. Suddenly their face arises in the moment that we met, and I just remember them with a kind of joy and a real connection. I cannot believe the depth of the connections that I've made with people in a passing moment. I can only describe it as supernatural because it isn't possible that in just that moment you care and that person receives it. And for the record, one of the questions that people frequently ask me is, has anyone ever had a negative response to you in the time that you've told people? One woman. I think that is absolutely amazing. Her story is in here because I thought it was only fair to include the story of the only negative response I ever received. And I was on a radio show, Interfaith Voices. It's an NPR show that goes out to 90 different stations. They're doing a special series on compassion. And immediately when I said I've only had one response, the woman on the other end said, "Was that the margarita woman?" I said, "Yes, that was the margarita woman." I was at a Mexican restaurant. And her story's in here, and it was just a snarky response. And I asked her name, and she turned to the person next to her and said, "She wants to know my name." And she had been kind of looking at me all night like she didn't like my face, which is okay, but sometimes your face reminds someone of a face that hurt them in their past, or you just don't know where that comes from. And my son and I were there having dinner, and I thought, well, I'm just going to tell her anyway, even though she's giving me those looks. And I said, "It's okay, I don't have to know your name. I just want you to know I'll be thinking about you tonight. Remember me in my prayers, I do this." And she goes, "Isn't that sweet?" And I thought, yes, it is. But no. When I went home, the amazing thing to me was I had no animosity towards that woman, or, like, well, I've got plenty of people, lady, that want, me to pray for them. I don't have to pray for you. My serious prayer for her, and would be still today, is that she would find love in her life and be healed of anything that had hurt her in her past. And as I prayed for her that night, and my prayers, it's not like I'm fasting, going in the closet, I'm praying for an hour for these strangers, come on, who has time for that? I mean, I think you can pray for somebody for 30 seconds or for a minute. You can hold their face in your heart and really mean, whether that prayer lasts 30 seconds or 1 minute or 5 minutes, or you think about it maybe 3 times that day when you stop at a red light. That's a prayer to me. I don't think there's any sort of formula of a perfect prayer. Even though I have these prayer cards I should have brought in, that I wrote a prayer. The pink one said, "Well, could you kind of write a prayer that you would say for people that you were going to offer?" So I do have those cards, and I'll get some out and put them. And it says, "Today you're my stranger," and it has this beautiful little prayer, and it's for people in New York that can hand it to somebody and run, so they don't have to have any personal exchanges, in big cities. You don't have to talk to them. You just hand them the card and run, and that way they know. And I've given them out to a few people. They really love them. They love the prayer, and I think it gives them something to hold on to, and they can take it home and look at it, put it on the window, and pull it out on troubled days and go, "Wait a minute, that was a day that I stood out to somebody and they said a prayer for me." That matters, So the depth of compassion I felt for the woman that night, that when I prayed, to me was a revelation in my heart of the changes taking place. And I'm still surprised at how much it matters to me, her face and her situation, when I think of her. And, I may kind of laugh about her as I'm on tour because she's the only person that ever said, "No, maybe I'll run into her again someday." And other people have kind of said, "River, you have no idea later that night when that woman went home, or the next morning, or, she opened up the mailbox, or something that happened when she remembered you in a different light, and it kind of can back to in a different way. So this has been just an interesting journey of mine, and writing about faith and talking about faith was just never in my game plan. That just wasn't anything I was planning on doing at all.